Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
It is The Savage Nation. You're listening to Metallica with a great song of theirs, which I'm sure you know what it is, those of you who are fans of Metallica. And I believe it is called what? What is it called, Robert? For Whom the Bell Tolls, is that correct? How many of you know that For Whom the Bell Tolls come from a great poem that approaches a religious piece by a great dead white male poet, John Donne? It's a short one. And he wrote this. He said, "No man is an island entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manor of thine own or of thine friends were. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee." 1624, John Donne, no longer taught by the polyps in the U.S. academic establishment. The polyps who have turned academia into a cesspool of left-wing hatred for everything Caucasian, everything European, everything that is great on this earth created by whites, now expunged by the polyps who have taken over every aspect of the academy. Now, what does that have to do with Trump? Nothing. Nothing to do with Trump in a way. For whom the bell tolls? Well, the poem begins with, "No man is an island." He's not an island. And as Chuck Schumer and the other illegitimi on the left continue to tear him apart, they do not realize they're tearing themselves apart. As they tear apart the truth, as they tear apart decency, as they tear apart democracy, as they tear apart the presidency, they're washing away our nation. And if you think they're only attacking Trump, you are mistaken. They're attacking the foundations of our nation. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I said to you at the early part of the week, I'm going to try and begin each program with some biblical quote or whatever. Today I began with a great poem that approaches a biblical quote because it's as good as anything that the ancients wrote. But there is an ancient thing from the Ethics of the Father that is a one-liner that says, "Do not judge alone, for none can judge alone except one," meaning only God can judge alone. Do not judge alone, for none can judge alone except one. Apparently, Chuck Schumer forgot all of that after he put down his religious studies, if he ever had any. After tearing apart Donald Trump on completely fallacious grounds, they're now going after Mike Pence. Did you know that? Many of you think that Mike Pence is waiting in the wings, which he probably is, and we're going to play his interview with me. But the issue is not him. They're going to try to tear him down just as well. The polyps in the Democrat Party live for one thing only, and that is to destroy. To destroy, destroy, destroy. And now here's the odd part. Instead of facing the real enemy of Western civilization, which is radical Islam, they have created a false enemy called Russia. Suddenly Russia is the bigger enemy. What has Russia done to America to harm us? The answer is absolutely nothing. Were it not for the Russian jets, ISIS would still be cutting off heads and setting people alive on fire while alive. It was the Russian Air Force under Putin that started to destroy ISIS, not Barry Hussein Obama, who refused to do the job. Listen to me very carefully. Civilization itself is under attack right now. The vicious Dems are now out to destroy Pence. They're going after him in a new way. They're saying VP Pence is standing by his claims that he did not know former National Security Advisor Flynn had been secretly lobbying for the Turkish government until March. So now they're trying to smear Pence with the same Flynn story. You know, this morning I spoke to a few people, and I got a lot of emails from a few people who I respect, and maybe I'll share some of them with you. But one of them was a very famous very famous Democrat attorney, one of the most famous, but I'm talking old line, JFK era Democrat. Don't confuse them with the progressive vermin of San Francisco of today. I'm talking about old line Democrat, fair-minded liberal. There were such men. They don't exist much anymore. And he said to me, he called me incensed. He said, can you tell your friend Donald Trump how to handle this? Because he's a very famous attorney, this man. He said there's only one way for him to handle it and get up there and say, of course I told the FBI director, if you can, I didn't say you should, if you can, drop this inquisition against these people, because he's a good man. Flynn is a good man. He's my friend. That shows loyalty. Do you understand? It shows that Donald Trump has something that none of the Democrat polyps have, which is integrity and loyalty to friends. Do you understand what's going on here? Loyalty, integrity, something that Schumer never learned in the dirty streets of Brooklyn. Something that Pelosi never learned in the filth in which she dwells. He said, tell him to go on the attack and say, of course I defended Flynn and told the FBI director, if you can, not you should, if you can, move away from this. He's a good man. He didn't do anything wrong here. He said there's nothing illegal with that. He gave me some other advice. There's absolutely no case whatsoever for impeachment. None. In fact, if you think there is, you're really living in a dream world. I got another letter from my attorney, Daniel Horowitz. And he said impeachment based upon the Comey memo is very unlikely. Here's why. If Comey really was solicited in a way that was clearly illegal, he had two choices. One, he could submit a report to the Attorney General and seek a prosecution. Two, he could create a memo, report, and do further investigation. That is, set up a sting or attempt to garner more proof than just his word against the president's. As far as I know, writes my attorney, as far as I know, neither took place. A cynic would say that Comey was holding it over Trump as blackmail, but I give no credence to that at all. The power would fade over time, and the delay in reporting would make the use of the threat a bluff. That leaves us with the idea that Comey probably felt pressured, but also believed that the conduct did not constitute a crime. It is the only logical conclusion. Comey is a lawyer and an experienced law enforcement officer, and he is smart and not afraid of anyone as far as I can tell. For all of these reasons, his noting of the contact, but his taking no further action, screams to me there is nothing here. And there is more, much more. And unfortunately, the propaganda damage has already been done. Last night, I received a number of emails from a friend of mine in Los Angeles. He said every restaurant he went in, that's all they were talking about, was Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia, Trump, Russia. He said one restaurant after another, wherever he went, at one table after the next. The psychotic liberals have bought it hook, line, and sinker. The idiots in West Hollywood who don't know their toenails from their DNA. We're talking about not the radical Islamic threat to our civilization, but Trump and Russia, Trump and Russia, Trump and Russia. So the damage has already been done. Well, there are many other stories, and I'm not going to talk about this all day. Here's some stories that I should talk about today. Pence takes steps to build war chest as White House stumbles, says Bloomberg's Bill Allison. Breitbart reports Trump under siege. More than 60% of NSC employees placed by Hussein Obama. Comey's revenge may be far from over, says Mike Allen. Trump voters want jobs, not noise about Russia. CNN, and it's an interesting one. She traveled the country talking with dozens of Trump voters. No one has ever brought up Russia, an issue that President Trump seems obsessed with. She went to Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Wisconsin. Russia never came up, nor did the FBI. These states went to Trump and were critical to his election, she writes. All voters there want to talk about is how America needs more jobs. They don't mean jobs at McDonald's or at an Amazon warehouse. They mean jobs that will allow them to have decent middle-class lives that pay over $25 an hour and come with health care and retirement benefits. Jobs and wages are, quote, why we voted for him as a country, says Kenneth Olson, a 60-year-old factory worker from Racine, Wisconsin. who has been told his job is moving to Canada soon. He's deeply concerned that he and his wife may lose their house after he's laid off. On the campaign trail, Trump seemed to be in sync with voters like Olson and understand their deep economic pain and fear. He excelled at rallying massive crowds with promises to be, quote, the greatest jobs producer that God ever created, and to bring back jobs from Mexico and China. He focused on what got his base excited. That's all they care about. That is jobs, jobs, jobs. The phone number is 855-400-7282. I have no specific questions for you. I could ask you a loaded question, but I really don't want to get stuck on one specific topic. But Scott in Massachusetts has already called the Savage Nation. Scott on line one, let's hear what you have to say. Fire away, 30 seconds or less. Oh, what do you mean, you don't have him? Great, terrific. See how much I love my show, how my timing is not affected by incompetence. It's an amazing story unto itself. Trump pulls trigger for NAFTA talks. That came out just now. While he's under attack by the polyps in the media, in the government media complex, he gave formal notice just this day today he will renegotiate NAFTA, the so-called free trade deal that Bill Clinton signed between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. By signing this letter to Congress, it triggers a 90-day consultation period among the administration, Congress, and business. This means that negotiations to renegotiate NAFTA can begin in August. This is the first step toward reshaping a trade deal that became law in 1994 and changed the face of trade in North America. Now, this is a very important story. He's doing his work. In the midst of being assaulted by the lowest forms of humanity, he continues to do the job we sent him to Washington to do. Now, if you think I'm going to abandon him like all of the never-Trumpers, if you think I'm going to stab him in the back and jump ship because all the others are doing it, I'm not going to do that. I'm made of better stuff than that. I'm not going to join the chorus of those who were for Cruz or for any of the other lessers who could not win. They're now sticking a knife in Trump's back as he is in trouble. The answer is stick a knife in the other party's back, not in his back. And I've said this before, and I will say it again as I said it to the Democrat attorney today. What is missing, I said, sir, is a Roy Cohn. If I were Donald Trump, I would hire 100 aggressive lawyers under a Roy Cohn-like lawyer, and I would investigate all of those who are persecuting me with these false charges. I would put 10 investigators on every senator, every congressman, every reporter who has it in for me. And once I turn over every rock in their lives, and I expose what's real about their pollution, you will see most of this will go away. It's astonishing to me how successful propaganda can be. It's shocking to me how they could take a man like Donald Trump, as flawed as he is, and turn him into a villain. A villain he is not, flawed he is. And how, by attacking Trump, what they're really doing is attacking the Americans who voted for Trump. Make no mistake about it. By attacking Trump, they're saying drop dead on the border with Mexico. We love the drugs. We love the crime. We love the illegal aliens. We love the meth dealers pouring over the border. We love the throat cutters with tattoos. We want more of them in our cities because we love the drug trade. By attacking Trump, they're saying we love an unfair trade deal where Eddie loses his job. We love jobs going to Canada. We love jobs going to Mexico. We love jobs going to China. We want the white male suffering with nothing in this country. We want the white male out of work. We want him humiliated and broken. And language, we don't want a language in this country. We want a bastardization. We want no one to understand the next man. We want a Tower of Babel in this nation. They are attacking us. They're attacking the core of the nation. They're attacking every last one of us who voted for Trump. Make no mistake about it. The battle lines are drawn. The game has begun. And I am Michael Savage, and I'm not jumping ship just because you think it is convenient to do so. I am a loyal man, and I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You're listening to Michael Savage and the Savage Nation on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Michael Savage back with you. I hope you enjoyed my impassioned defense of Donald Trump, because I'm defending myself. I'm defending the agenda. I'm defending all of those Americans who want America back. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You have to fight right now, and you cannot let the illegitimate progressives roll you over with their big lies. Because let me remind you of something, and I'll remind you until you finally hear me. They're implying that Trump and his officials were complicit in Russia's efforts to impact the election. It should be noted that both acting FBI Director McCabe and the former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, who doesn't shut his claptrap mouth, have refuted that notion already. There is absolutely no collusion whatsoever with Russia. Now, having said that, my big, high-powerful Democrat lawyer friend said to me, Trump should give a national press conference. He should have done it already and stop tweeting. Just what I said. Stop with the juvenile adolescent tweeting. Stop it! Stop it! Stop the tweeting. It's not presidential. Give a national conference in the Oval Office with the seal of the presidency in front of him and say, yes, I defended General Flynn because he is a good man. And I would do it again. And number two, yes, I did tell the ambassador about the dangers of radical Islam and their attempts to use laptops to blow up airplanes, because that is my job as president, to protect people. And I would do it again with any other world leader who is our ally. And he said that would be the end of it. Instead of hiding and tweeting and tweeting and hiding, Trump needs one piece of advice. Fire your communications director. Fire everybody around you in the communications division. They are failing you, and that is why you are in trouble. Period. That's my opinion. Fire them all and start afresh.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Just remember what I said to you. That monologue shall live for a very long time. It will be played and replayed and played again. And never forget John Donne's poem, For Whom the Bell Tolls. No man is an island. No man is an island. By attacking Donald Trump, they are attacking every one of us who voted for Donald Trump. By smearing Donald Trump with the lies that the Soviets developed in the 1920s and the 1930s. The communists developed these tactics. By smearing Donald Trump with these Soviet-era tactics, they are smearing every one of us, every one of these decent Americans like you, like me, who went to the polls. We didn't beat anybody up. We didn't burn anything down. We didn't attack any police. We didn't use the vile tactics of Black Lives Matter. We don't use the cowardly tactics of those with masks over their faces. We bit our tongues, and we went to the polls, and we voted. And by attacking Trump, they are attacking our vote. By attacking our vote, they're attacking democracy. They're attacking the presidency. You know and I know there's nothing there. You know this whole thing was a creation of the Hillary Clinton campaign. It is now snowballed into a fake avalanche that they're starting to believe themselves. And you have to stay strong in this avalanche. You must stay strong, and you must not yield to your liberal neighbor in apartment 5A on floor 32 on East 65th Street. Don't let them run you down. Illegitimi non carborundum. Chris on WEZS Radio, line 2, you're on the Savage Nation.
Yes, sir. I loved your monologue. I agree. I'm not going to give up on Trump. I think that the attack against him really is an attack against the idea of America. He's the most American person, number one president that I can think of.
They hate him for a number of reasons. He's an alpha male, and as you well know, alpha males do not exist in the media. You've got metrosexuals in the media who hate alpha males. That's number one. This attack upon him is an attack upon malehood. It's an attack upon, may I say, many other aspects of Donald Trump. His uber masculinity, and also, I must say, his race, whether you know it or not. This is something that is a very dangerous topic, but I care to take it on. Why is it that for 8 years, no matter what Hussein Obama did, we were not allowed to criticize him? Why is it that for 8 straight years, no matter what Hussein Obama did, no matter how he abused the taxpayer, no matter what nefarious deal he was involved in, $150 billion sent to Iran, where'd the money come from? Where were all of the brave Wolf Blitzers and Jake Tappers at that time? How come they didn't raise one voice of protest about the real scandals of Hussein Obama? Do you think there's a tinge of a racial element in this attack on him and no attack upon Obama? Do you think so?
Well, I think he's a male. He's a real man. And I don't think we've seen one for, maybe Ronald Reagan approached it, and since then...
All right, what you're touching on is an interesting idea, which is that this is radical feminism gone amok as well. I can understand where you're coming from. I wouldn't say that's the only reason. But there is a tinge of the same hysteria that you see on the campuses promulgated by the whistleblowing radical feminists who need safe spaces in order to promote their hatred. Thank you for the call. What's your opinion? 855-400-7282 is the phone number. 8 years we weren't allowed to criticize Hussein. 8 years. You couldn't say one word about Hussein or Mrs. Hussein, could you? No matter how many times she took a trip on Air Force One or Two with her daughters and her mother, no matter where she went and how many millions she spent, you couldn't say one word. And while Hussein, the great liberal, was building the greatest surveillance state in the history of the world, far exceeding that of the Stasi in Eastern Europe. You ask anybody. You even ask liberals who know what I'm talking about. Hussein Obama spied on every American with impunity. And where were all of the girls in the media then? Huh? Where were the great judges of what is correct then? Where were they? Sonia, WABC in New York. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Dr. Savage. First of all, your monologue was passionate and true. But what you've actually taken the words out of my mouth, because what I want to say is I feel that there's a fresh air now that one can breathe. And what is it? It was because for 8 years, if you tried to criticize that president that was there for the 8 years, you were looked at like you were a racist. It was frightening to be able to criticize him. But now that President Trump is there, people are going nuts criticizing him, and nobody says a word, even if it's true or not. But now we are allowed to criticize, and we're not looked at because, in fact, they're being lauded with their criticisms. And you more or less just took the words out of my mouth.
Well, for 8 straight years, why do you think no one criticized Hussein Obama? You're implying because of the racial issue?
Yes.
Well, he was also a far-left radical. Now, you combine that with the perfect storm of the racial element, and you understand how he got away with virtual murder.
When I would sit round the dining room table with my friends and would bring up criticism of that president, I don't even want to say his name, it turns me off, they would look at me like, what's happened to you? You've turned racist? That's the way they catalogue
So
it.
This is how brainwashing works. This is what happens when a nation becomes brainwashed. This is what goes on the campuses today. The children are afraid to say one word about the radicals who are assaulting them, about the separatists who may be African American who demand this and demand that, separate housing, separate graduations, separate programs for themselves. They're reinstituting segregation, and everyone sees it, and no one says a word. They're intimidated by this insanity. But let's get back to Donald Trump. We agree that he's being attacked not only because of his policies of borders, language, and culture and his nationalism, but also because of his absolute maleness and his boldness. Isn't that an element as well? Well, I think it is, and I thank you for the call. And before I go anywhere, I got to tell you something else, and I think it's just as important as anything to do right now, because I got to tell you about a sophisticated email phishing scam that targeted 1 million users of a document editing application that was provided by a leading internet company. You see, the emails looked like they came from known contacts and invited recipients to view a document. But when users clicked to open the file, scammers collected their account information, including credentials and contacts. Well, the company acted fast and stopped the scam within an hour. So always be skeptical of these types of emails and be sure you know the sender before opening them. That's a good warning, because identity theft is America's fastest growing crime. It happens when thieves use your information and they pretend that they're you. They can liquidate your bank account or get retirement funds. Did you know that? The great company LifeLock scans hundreds of millions of transactions every second. If they detect your information, they send you an alert. If you have a problem, a U.S.-based agent will work to fix it. Free credit monitoring only alerts you to changes in credit. You know that no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. And I think LifeLock is the best identity theft protection available. Membership started only $9.99 a month plus taxes. I'm asking you to go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. Use promo code SAVAGE. That's SAVAGE for 10% off your LifeLock membership. So call 1-800-LifeLock. That's 1-800-LifeLock. Again, the phone number I invite you to call is 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Remember, by attacking Trump, they're attacking all of us who voted for Trump. They're saying we are illegitimate. They're saying we're working in collusion to bring down America, when in fact the opposite is true. It was Barack Obama who brought America to its knees. It was Barack Obama who turned race against race. It was Barack Obama who turned mobs against the police. Never forget what that devil did to this country. No man is an island entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manor of your own or of your friends were. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. John Donne wrote it in 1624, and they're no longer taught in a university. Do you know why? Because he's considered an evil white male. Instead, it is replaced with garbage, illegitimate garbage, rubbish, filth, anti-Americanism. Anti-Americanism has now replaced literature. Anti-Americanism has now replaced everything decent in the universities. They have been polluted just as the media has been polluted. They were educated. Never forget who this new wave of so-called presenters are and where they've come from. They've come from cauldrons of hatred, academies of deceit, academies of racism, academies of a desire to wipe away the greatness of European civilization. Never forget what is at stake here. It's a far larger picture than just this big man called Donald Trump. As flawed as he is not what they try to make him out to be. And remember, as they come for Trump, they come for you. The battle lines have been drawn. They want a civil war. They've got a civil war. You have the power to turn off CNN. You have the power to never watch the filth and the dirt on MSNBC. You have the power to do to them what they've done to me. You have the power to say no to it. You don't have to watch that garbage. You don't have to watch the fake comedians on HBO. You can turn it off. You don't have to sit there and listen to it with the fake tracks of laughter and the drug addicts in the audience. Remember how powerful you are. Remember you are actually the majority. And never forget that you have more disposable income than all of the progressives think that they may have. You control the economy of this country. You have the power to shape the future of this country. You can turn off those networks that insult you. You can turn off those shows that make a mockery of your beliefs. You have the power. No man is an island entire of itself. You are very powerful when you realize you're part of a continent of humanity. This is the Savage Nation. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You're listening to Michael Savage. Coming up at 3, it's Mark Levin on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Well, there's an element to this story out of New York City that you may not have heard. The driver who drove his car into a crowd on 4 blocks of Times Square, killing an 18-year-old tourist and injuring 22 others. He was not a terrorist per se. He should be tried for murder, by the way. He tried to flee after he did this, and his car smashed into something. And he ran out of his car, this you don't know about, and he started to punch people and tackle people. But 3 brave men, all police, of course, the ones that Maxine Waters hates so much, a parole officer, a traffic cop, and a patrol cop who happened to be there, tackled this piece of garbage, threw this filthy piece of garbage against the wall, and pinned his arms behind his back, and he started to scream and cry. You see the pictures in the New York Post of this thing. This thing. I would try him on terrorism charges. I don't care whether he did it for Allah or he did it because he's just crazy. I'd try him on the terrorism charges. I guarantee you he'll get some shyster lawyer from NYU who'll say he was manhandled by the 3 cops because they didn't allow him to kill a woman, another woman. Go look at the pictures. I've linked them on michaelsavage.com. There he is. And he's got a name. It doesn't matter to you what his name is. Richard Rojas. He had 2 previous drunk driving convictions. You listening to me? Twice convicted for drunk driving. Once his Honda crashed against the stanchion on Broadway and 45th Street. This drunk, crazy man jumped out of his car, tackled people, punched people. But it was 3 brave cops who threw this piece of garbage against the wall, and he started to cry as they pinned his arms behind his back. Maybe some shyster lawyer from NYU could run down over there and say they manhandled him. It was police brutality. Well, thank God for the cops. There's another story that I linked up about police. I'll tell you, it's really getting me sick. Thank God this one ended well as well. This one is of a cop. I've got to find the story. I can't put my fingers on it immediately. He sees a car in Colorado on the side of the road. There it is, New York Daily News. Body cam video shows Colorado deputy shoots suspect who attacked him with a rifle. He sees a car on the side of the road in Colorado. He gets out. He goes to the right side of the car. He tells the guy to get out. The guy comes out with a rifle and attacks him with the butt of the rifle. And his instincts kick in, and he shoots this piece of garbage twice in the arm. And you hear the guy screaming, "I did nothing." And right away he knew the defense already. "I didn't do anything. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why'd you shoot me? I didn't do anything." Got all the words out of the ACLU. You hearing me? The 25-year-old driver, Deon Marcus Rivas Maestas, comes out of the car with a rifle and attacks the officer. The cop goes on instinct and shoots his own weapon twice, striking this piece of garbage in the arm. And the guy starts screaming on the ground. You got to watch this tape. "I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. Why you shoot me, man? Why you shoot me, man?" This is what the cops have to put up with. They're all trained, all these drug addicts, these drug dealers. They've been trained left and right by the very same forces that are attacking Trump. All of these people who teach the youths, the juveniles at the universities. There's a group in Berkeley, I don't know what they're called. If it was up to me, I'd arrest them for sedition, all of them. They're called Ruckus Group or something. They teach these young drug addicts how to attack police and get away with it. They teach these young drug addicts how to put masks over their face and spray Trump supporters with pepper spray and say that they were the ones that were attacked. We are at war. Make no mistake about it. We are involved in a civil war that's being conducted by the same cabal that gave us George Soros and gave us Barack Obama. The very same cabal is at war now against everybody who voted for Donald Trump and wants the sovereignty of America to prevail. Never forget the motto of the Savage Nation: borders, language, culture. Illegitimi non carborundum.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture, and here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
She's the woman that I know. She's the woman that loves me so. Say, Bebopalula, she's my.
There's no message in the song, believe me. Not for me, anyway. So now it gets even crazier. This just came out. More madness, more drama. Spicer, the whatever, I think a communications guy, or whatever he is, press secretary, comes out and says Trump is considering former Senator Joe Lieberman for FBI director. If you ever could pick the wrongest person in the world, would it be Joe Lieberman? Yes. Why in the world would his name even be circulated to be FBI director? Joe Lieberman. President Trump will interview 4 candidates for FBI director, including former independent Senator Joe Lieberman. Trump will also meet with Frank Keating, a former Oklahoma governor, and Richard McFeely. Spicer said during a briefing on Air Force One as Trump returned to Washington after speaking at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy in Connecticut. This just came up. Lieberman was a Democrat before becoming an independent from Connecticut. Okay, now why would he pick a 75-year-old man who, at best, is sort of a weakling type? You know, like a weak guy. A nice, weak guy. Why would he put him into the FBI? Answer. You can figure out the rest of that answer, can't you? This is totally insanity. Now, why would he also float the name of Mr. Keating, 73 years old, former FBI agent who rose to prominence as Oklahoma's governor during the Oklahoma City bombing? During last year's presidential election, this guy Keating criticized Trump for his lack of leadership and once referred to him as hysterical. He once said to the New York Times, frequently Mr. Trump's tone is hysterical, and there is simply no reason for that. Leaders, whether they're governors or presidents, need to make sure they don't create a bloodlust hysteria. See, he's on the short list. Okay. Then there's McCabe, Mr. McCabe, who is the acting director, who of course was the lieutenant of Comey. Why would he consider him? I don't understand that one. Now another one. So I don't know. What do I know? Who should run the FBI? Maybe Reese Witherspoon? Why doesn't he just pick someone from Hollywood to run the FBI? That might be fun. Like a movie star. Reese Witherspoon should run the FBI. Or how about the Yale dean who loves diversity except for calling white people white trash, the Chinese lady? Maybe you ought to elect her to be the dean of the head of the FBI. Yeah, the whole thing is insanity. Look, politics has always been something that I paid very little attention to, except for the last 25 years. I've always been obsessed with it, even in college. I used to discuss it incessantly along with philosophy and biology and evolution. But it's crazier today than ever. And my questions are, should Trump resign to save our agenda? I wasn't kidding when I asked it, because if you remember, I wrote a sterling article last week that was on the Drudge Report for a while. And it was, I wish I could find it exactly. I can't put my hands on it. Right now I have 500 papers in front of me. I don't like it when it gets like this. I don't like when it gets overwhelming, and it's overwhelming. Let's see. Black UCLA students demand safe spaces and $40 million. Oh, okay. Well, give them the segregation now that they didn't want, okay? South Korea's new president warns of high possibility of military clashes with North Korea. I don't want to think about it. Israel Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman says Intel co-op with Israel remains strong. Berkeley student fees fund $2.7 million gender-neutral locker room. Are you listening to this one? This is while they're complaining, the Progs, about high tuition. They took $2.7 million of student fees to build a gender-neutral locker room at UC Berkeley. But I can't find my article that was up on the report. It was on WorldNet Daily. It may still be on my website. It should be there on michaelsavage.com. Let me see if it's been taken down. And they left some Mickey Mouse article up instead. Let's see. It's hard to manage all this stuff. I got to tell you the truth. It's not there already. It's gone. How could they take that down? How could they take down my most important article and put up some trash or leave up some garbage about gluten? Non-celiac gluten sensitivity still probably doesn't exist, according to a new major study. That's why it's a good story. Non-celiac gluten sensitivity still probably doesn't exist. It's a hysteria. Whatever happened to my petition, Make England Savage Again? Petition calls for radio legend to be unbanned from UK. People are probably asking, look, I signed the thing. Did you give it to Trump yet? The answer is no, I haven't given it to Trump yet, and I'm not going to. The timing was all wrong. I'm not giving it to him because he's got other things to worry about. We have how many names now? I'm waiting for things to calm down. Do we cross 20? No. 19,916 people signed this petition. I'd like to break 20,000 today. Petition urging President Donald Trump and the U.S. State Department to demand Britain remove Michael Savage from its travel ban list. Not a high priority, I get it. But let's break 20,000 and see what happens. Then I may or may not. Who knows if you think he's going to care at this point? I don't know. That's all. I don't see the article. I'm looking. Guys, refax it to me. In sum total, I wrote an article about how to save the agenda, Trump's agenda, because most of us have forgotten he had an agenda. And hold on. I'm digging for it here. I'll give you the agenda. I'll make it short. I'm not reading from the book. Don't worry. Don't get nervous. The wall, taxes, tariffs, deportations, Obamacare, guns, military strength, schools, abortion, religion. What will the new president do? So now you understand why the evil ones at the New York Times and the government media complex, as I have called it since 1998, are fighting to destroy Trump. It's not so much because he makes it easy for them, which he does, by not stopping with the tweeting and making statements that make no sense. But they don't want the wall. They don't want taxes to go down. They want no tariffs with foreign nations that are ripping us off. They want no deportations even of dangerous gang members. They want Obamacare to not only stay but be expanded. They want your guns seized. They want a military weakened. They want our schools turned into a furtherance of their psychotic Marxist agenda. They want massive more abortion, and they want religion snuffed out in America with the exception of Islam. Now you understand why and how this is all happening? My army of listeners do. Now we know that Trump will face relentless opposition. I said so in the jacket of the book. I said so. So what's unusual about it? I said not only will Trump have to overcome progressive ideologues, check that, neoconservative ventriloquists, check all the Republicans turning on him, connected corporate interests, check his own inner circle, and a military-industrial complex bent on permanent war. But I added this. I don't know how many of you knew this when you bought the book. I said right on the jacket, Trump will also have to fight progressive beliefs even he and his otherwise conservative appointees have unwittingly accepted. So, look, nothing got past me. I used to be known as a kid that an ant couldn't walk by me without my observing it. I see everything. It's not like I'm the all-seeing. Look, in some areas I'm stupid. In politics, I'm a genius. Politics, I'm a stone genius in politics. I always have been. I can see it all, past, future, present, all the way back to King David and what he had to do to amalgamate the tribes of Israel and become the king of Israel and create the nation of Israel. And I can see forward, I can see backwards, I can see sideways. In interpersonal relationships, I wouldn't give myself an A. That's why I live with a dog. I need a cup of coffee. Wait, let me have a sip right now. Ah, that tasted good. You ever want a cup of coffee? Since the oscopy, I want coffee more than ever. This is amazing. So here we are. You got the questions. We got the answers. We got the callers. We got the show. Should Trump resign for the sake of our agenda? Does T have any moves left to escape the evil attacks? Why did the Democrats so badly want war with Russia? And, of course, as I said to you in the last hour, they know that they can't impeach him, but all they want to do is stop his agenda, damage Repubs for midterms, start war with Russia, and stall any investigations into Hillary's uranium deal and Obama's high crimes and misdemeanors. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
It is the Savage Nation. We're looking up Trump's birth sign. I want to see what the horoscope has to say. He's a Gemini? Okay, let's see what Gemini... certain things may be fated to happen, but you still have control over the way you choose to react to them. Resolve to be positive today, Donald, no matter what might occur, and look for ways to turn setbacks into triumphs. They won't be hard to find. It's very funny in a certain way. Do you think people are getting fed up with the crescendo now? That with the insanity, the day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. Impeach, 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 impeach. Impeach, 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 impeach. Have you ever heard anything like this in your life? You know that he can't be impeached. He's done nothing that's impeachable. You know that it's all made up in order to slow down his agenda, which is everything that we wanted, which is why we voted for him. Do I have to repeat again what the agenda is? I will. Just so that you know what it is. We want the wall built. We want the horde of illegals stopped from coming over the border. We want our taxes lowered by at least 50%. We want deportations to continue. We want tariffs on Chinese goods. We want Obamacare gone. We want no one coming near any part of our Second Amendment, Dianne Feinstein. We want our military strengthened, not the contractors strengthened. And when I say military strength, I don't just mean building weapons, I mean building morale. And I mean changing and firing all the Potemkin generals put in by Obama. All the fake warriors who never fired a shot, who are now running the military, need to be purged out of the military. That's what I meant by military strength. Not building more ships and airplanes to make people rich. Did I ever say that to you before? Well, I'll say it again. Not one of them has been fired. Not one of the fake generals, not one of the fake admirals has been thrown out yet. The woman who can't fly a plane is still the head of the Air Force Academy. The woman who can't sail a ship is still the head of the U.S. Navy. Get rid of them. Schools. What do I mean by schools? Oh, what do I mean by schools? We got a lot to do there. Abortion, hot subject, third rail. Religion. What has the president actually done for religious freedom? That tepid bill he passed a few weeks ago didn't really please the truly conservative Christians out there. They were not fooled by it. He is basically advised, I'm sorry to tell you, by Jesuits. I don't want to go into it because there's more to this than meets the eye. Not a good thing. Almost all of the people advising Trump on his transition are Jesuits. You say, well, what's wrong with Jesuits? I don't just say Jerry Brown. They just say Jerry Brown. They're all very left-wing. All of them, all of them, all of them, all of them, all of them. Let's take a quick call. Bruce on WABC. Go ahead, please. You're up on the air. What's on your mind?
Whether it's resignation or impeachment, there's one man who's standing and waiting, and his silence is deafening, and that's Mike Pence, the true conservative that will get the job done, a true Christian, a man of faith, a man that can carry out the plan that America wanted.
Well, do you actually... Wait, hold it. So you're saying you want Trump to resign so that Pence could take over?
Absolutely. Trump is in way over his head. He has no clue.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that, but I will say this. When Pence came on my radio show about 2 months ago, did you hear that show?
Yes, I did, sir.
We were shocked that they approached us because we had tried to get him on and they wouldn't even answer our calls. And then out of the blue, there came Pence. At the time, I thought it was because of the rumblings that you are suggesting right now?
I believe it.
I believe that there's a conspiracy within the highest circles of the Republican Party to do just what you're saying.
I absolutely believe it.
But here's the big but. They're underestimating Trump and his resolve. He's not leaving, and there's no way to impeach him. So I don't think that's going to happen. That's the issue.
I don't see it right now the way he's going. What the Saudi, the NATO? Are you kidding me?
I know. Who came up with that idea? Which person came up with a Saudi Arabian NATO? Who would come up with that?
His son-in-law. And why is his son-in-law in there? Why is his daughter in there?
Well, a lot of us don't feel very comfortable with this. We did not vote for his, let us say, his wonderful family. I mean, if you knew that Jared Kushner would be this powerful, would you have voted for Trump? The answer is absolutely not.
Does Mike Pence not have all the characteristics you want in a conservative president?
I'm not sure. I think that he would be let's talk about him. Because it's not the first time I've discussed this with someone. I'll do it publicly for the first time. Mike Pence would be a Gerald Ford Republican president, which is not a bad thing in a time of turmoil. He would be a middle-of-the-road president who could get a lot done. He wouldn't be very conservative, that you know. Am I correct?
You're correct.
He would not build the wall. He would probably not lower taxes. He would not impose tariffs on foreign goods. So, I mean, what would he actually do?
I believe that he would. I believe that he would lower taxes. I believe that he saw all the things that got Donald Trump elected, and he wants that agenda carried out.
Well, I don't know. I think he's very middle-of-the-road Republican, Midwest, middle-of-the-road, good man. He's a very stable person, which America needs desperately right now. The drama would go away. The daily drama, the insanity would disappear. We'd have professional politicians, but they'd all be old-line rhinos. Never forget who's behind Mike Pence. The very people who are now undermining Donald Trump would be running the country publicly as opposed to behind the scenes. I'm not so sure that's a good thing. But I appreciate your call. I'm sending you Trump's war so we can all remember what the agenda actually is.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The only thing I can say is I think we've seen this movie before. I think it's reaching the point where it's of Watergate size and scale and a couple of other scandals that you and I have seen. It's a centipede and the shoe continues to drop. It's not going to be over until every aspect of it.
This is Brutus McCain, one of the most deceitful men in the history of the U.S. military. To stab the commander-in-chief in the back like this when he knows he's lying through his teeth. He's doing this simply because Trump put him down during the campaign. What a sick, sad man, McCain. He was the dumbest of the McCain lineage. The grandfather was a great admiral, the father was a fine admiral, and McCain was the dummy of the family. They pushed him into I think he went to Annapolis and came in last. And then, of course, he had this disastrous career in the military where he set off a Zuni rocket on the deck of the USS Forrestal by pushing the wrong button on the deck. He almost sank the ship, blew up airplanes, and killed dozens of people. Died because of McCain. He's still pressing the wrong button. He is still pressing the wrong button. This man is an embarrassment. But he's not the issue. What comes next is the issue. The diminutive polyps in the media are all saying, impeach, 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 when they know that they can't impeach him. It's impossible. There's no way it will happen. All they want to do is stop his agenda, damage the Repubs for 2018, and stall any investigation of Hillary Clinton and her uranium deal with Russia. Needless to mention, the crimes and misdemeanors committed by Barack Obama, creating the largest surveillance state in the history of the world. I can go down the list if you'd like, but that'll never happen. Look, the first rule that everyone learns in grade school is the best defense is a good offense. Let's just lay it on the line here. The best defense is a good offense. So the Dems are playing defense by playing offense. Unfortunately, Trump has no team to fight back. And that's because, I don't know why, because he doesn't have what he needs. He needs attack dogs. He doesn't have them. Not only does he not have them, he has people who are undermining him from within. That's on top of it all. Right around him, his communications team may as well be working for the Democrats. By what shows they're sending him on? Lester Dolt sitting him in a chair, making him look like a schoolboy being lectured to by the principal. Are you kidding me? They should be fired for what they did to him on that Lester Holt interview. Lester Dolt. Lester Dolt attacked him viciously during the campaign. You forgot that? I didn't. How come his campaign director didn't remember that? Because his campaign director's working for the other team. That's why. Why won't he come on radio shows? Put mine aside. The campaign team may as well be working for the Democrats. They send him into hostile territory every day of the week. So he's got his problems. But he, see, as commander-in-chief and as the chief executive, he should be able to see through this. He should be able to fire his communications director and say, get out of here. Just get out of here for what you're doing to me. But who is he going to bring in? That's the question. Who would take the job right now? Do you know anybody who would take the job right now? That's another question. Who do you know would take a job in there who's competent? They're all afraid to take the job because they'd be tar-brushed for the rest of their life. They would be absolutely radioactive. So like I've been saying, he needs a Roy Cohn. He needs someone like Roy Cohn, a vicious, intelligent lawyer who could tear the opposition's throat out. But lawyers like that, who exist, by the way, would never take the job because they all work for the Democrats. They're tearing his throat out. It's that simple. And it's all. I don't know, do the Republicans even have lawyers like that on their side? I don't even know. They didn't know such lawyers? That's all. So can we move on? No, we can't move on. This is all you want to talk about. So let me find another couple of sound bites for your listening. Oh, did we play the montage? No. Let's play the impeachment montage by the diminutive polyps in the media.
Welcome back. You're watching MSNBC. I'm Stephanie Ruhle. The calls are growing for the ouster of President Trump. Another member of Congress wants him impeached.
Is that potentially impeachable if it's an obstruction of justice?
You were saying that this could lead down the road to impeachment, but we weren't anywhere near that yet. Does this breaking news tonight change your view?
Are we getting closer and closer to the possibility of yet another impeachment process?
Reluctantly, Wolf, I have to say yes.
Is it an impeachable offense if, in fact, the president obstructed justice?
So in terms of impeachment, are you taking action, working with Republicans, or doing anything that would actually move that agenda forward?
Do you harbor any hopes that you will find a conservative legal mind to match your desire to proceed with impeachment?
Impeachment originates in the House. House leadership and the Republican Party has shown no interest in that, and seems like
these are not benign polyps. These are cancerous polyps in the media. They need to be excised with a hot needle. It's unbelievable to me how sick they are that they don't think that we see through them. They all repeat each other. They start with a lie and build upon the lie, then they build upon the lie's lie, then they build upon the lie's lie. They're not going to get anywhere. It's not going to happen. And, of course, there's some humorous ones, too, which is Nancy Pelosi questioning Trump's fitness for office. If you want to laugh, we can play that. We have Bernie Sanders waiting in the wings to sell his seltzer bottles to America again. Again, another one, millionaires and billionaires. Millionaires and billionaires. Hang on, millionaires and billionaires. The minute Obama got out of office, he went with millionaires and billionaires. Right away, he flew to Necker Island. Then he flew to Brando's Island. Then he goes to a private hideaway in France. But they put down millionaires and billionaires. But look, if you need a laugh, we have waiting for you Maxine Waters. Because she, of all people, should have been arrested for what she did with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. She was responsible for the scandal of Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac, which cost taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. Here she is. Listen to her now in 10.
I know that there are those who are talking about, well, we're going to get ready for the next election. No, we can't wait that long. We don't need to wait that long. He will have destroyed this country by then. We cannot wake up every morning to another crisis, to another scandal. We cannot have the uncertainty. Okay. Something is wrong.
Look, I got to tell you, Maxine Waters should have been jailed for what she did with Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac. And the one who worked with her, Barney Frank, remember him? Remember Barney Frank from Massachusetts? He was smart enough to resign and not run again because he knew he would have gone to jail. This one wasn't smart enough to resign because she knew she was untouchable. You get it? This woman, and look it up. Why don't you look up Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, old names, the scandal, the amount of money that you shelled out when they let it go bust by giving out loans that were not qualified. She was right there at the center of it. She did nothing to stop it. And now she's saying he will destroy the country by then? She destroyed a good portion of the economy then. Okay, this is a little step by step. It doesn't really matter. So if you were advised, let's say you're Roy Cohn. Let's say you hired me. And they say, I'm Roy Cohn. And I want to be the most vicious lawyer in the United States of America. What would I do? Donald Trump said, Savage, please come to Washington and have an ice cream with me. Off the record, no notes, no recordings. What would you advise me to do? I'll tell you right now what I would advise him to do because I've said it openly on this program. I would hire 100 investigators for each one of my political opponents. I would put 10 or 15 of them on every one of my major opponents. I'd have them follow day and night. I would investigate their backgrounds. I would hire Pelicano, that type. I'd photograph them legally. I would record them legally where possible. I would trace their money trails all the way back, going back 10 years. I'd find out how they enriched themselves in office. I'd find out if there's any self-dealing in office. That would put an end to it. But I don't understand why he's not doing it. He's surrounded by very smart men. No one said go out and hire 100 investigators. You know, investigators are pretty good. These PIs are very, very good at what they do. You'd be surprised what they could dig up from ex-wives, ex-business associates, current, let us say, alliances in all spheres, in the bed and in the boardroom. Never know what you might find with 100 investigators. You just don't know what you might dig up to stop the jackals. You get it? That's what Roy Cohn would recommend from his grave. But apparently, Trump doesn't listen to my show anymore. Apparently, his communications director could care less what the deplorables who elected Trump think. And they send them on CBS's Lester Dolt, the guy who ripped him apart during the debates. It just shows you they're screwing him from within. So we'll see where this goes. He's leaving the country soon on a royal tour. Italy, the Pope, Israel, the Western Wall. I'm waiting for a shocker there. I think there's going to be a shocker. Because remember, the Saudis hate Israel and they hate the Jews. In fact, they hate everybody, as a matter of fact. But he's going to Saudi Arabia to the most royal welcome in history to sell them arms and talk about a new Sunni Arab organization, giving them weapons like you can't believe. And giving them the technology, or wants to give them the technology to allow them to build their own military weapons, which would be such a stupid mistake. I've never seen anything like this. Didn't we learn from China? Didn't we learn from Schwartz and the DNC what happens when you gave China technology? They used it against us. They said they wouldn't, but they are. The technology that Bill Clinton's team shared with China is now being used to threaten us and our allies. The same thing will happen with Saudi Arabia, mark my words. I mean, you know, you don't have to be me to understand what I just said to you. I'm a political guy with keen insights. I can see things very clearly in politics. As I said to you before, I'm a genius in politics, and I've known that for a long time, which is why I've had 5 bestsellers in a row. It didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen because I'm a huckster. It happened because there's substance in the books. And the people read it because they like reading the Holy Grail of insights. So having said that to you, I mean, what I'm telling you on the show right now is what should get right to Trump's ear. It's not getting there. Nothing. They've turned off talk radio. Doesn't exist for them anymore. They don't need us anymore? Well, if they don't need us now, when will they? If not now, when? When will Trump need talk radio more than he needs us today? Tell me when. Tell me. Because I don't know when it could get worse than it is right now. Anyway, I'm going to move on from these questions, unless you have some keen answer to the key question of the day, which I've since lost, on the Savage Nation. Here are the keen questions that I put forward this morning. Early in the morning, should Trump resign for the sake of our agenda? Because remember, the agenda is bigger than the man. And I think we've agreed he's not going to resign anyway, but that's number one. Does he have any moves that he can make to escape the evil attacks? I've already given you one. Hire 100 investigators, put 10 of them on each of your 10 most vociferous opponents. 10 of them. Investigate all their financial records, all their social records. Investigate all of their lovers, all of their would-be lovers, all of their dalliances, and you will see a lot of this come to an end. Believe me, it'll come to an end immediately.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Look, there was a sophisticated email phishing scam which targeted 1 million users of a document editing application provided by a leading internet company. The emails looked like they came from known contacts and invited recipients to view a document. And when users clicked to open the file, scammers collected their account information, including credentials, contacts. The company acted fast and stopped the scam within an hour. Always be skeptical of these types of emails and be sure you know the sender before you open them. You see, identity theft is America's fastest growing crime. It happens when thieves use your information to make believe that they're you. They can liquidate bank accounts or get retirement funds from you. It's no joke. But LifeLock scans hundreds of millions of transactions every second. If they detect your information, they send you an alert. If you have a problem, a U.S.-based agent will work to fix it. Free credit monitoring only alerts you to changes in credit. You know that no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. And you also know that LifeLock is the best identity theft protection available. And membership starts at only $9.99 a month, plus taxes. So go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock. Use promo code SAVAGE if you're going to do this. That's SAVAGE for 10% off your LifeLock membership. 1-800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock. Stock market now sees its worst slide since the election. The S&P 500 today, Wednesday, suffered its biggest one-day fall since September, as hopes for tax cuts and other pro-business policies faded after reports that Trump allegedly tried to interfere with the federal investigation. It's all false, but the stock market is very emotional, and the DJ Industrial Average fell 370 points, or 1.76%. So somebody made money off that. The leakers of this story made money by shorting, that's for sure. The cancerous tumors in the government made a fortune before this story was leaked by the NYT and probably sold stocks off. I can guarantee you that the hedge fund operators didn't lose any money. I guarantee you they were on the inside before you were on the outside. Which leads me to the conclusion of this hour, another saying from the ancients. Are you ready for it? Because I thought of it myself this morning. Never have faith in man. Never, ever, ever put your faith in another person, because they are only human, and inevitably they will disappoint you. Did you hear what I said to you? If you read Adam and Eve, and if you read Adam and Eve, and you read that, people can't help it. They're going to disappoint you. So the ancients wrote it another way. Jeremiah wrote, "Cursed is the man who trusts in man and turns his heart from God. He shall be like a lonely tree on the flat land, and shall not see when good comes. He shall dwell parched in the desert on land salty and unsettled." It's a very interesting statement from the ancients. Cursed is the man who trusts in man and turns his heart from God. He shall be a lonely tree on the flat land. Because the only thing that is eternal is God. And for those of you who have no faith in God, I'd like to know what you do have faith in. Because I have no idea what you lean on in times of need. What do you lean on? Tell me what you lean on. Are there any atheists in a cancer ward? We've heard the old saying, there are no atheists in a foxhole. Are there any atheists in a cancer ward? I haven't heard about that recently. People usually scream out, oh my God, or God help me. Where's God when you need him? I don't have an answer to that. I have an answer to other things. I told you I know politics, but I have no answer to these questions.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
I met a little boy named Billy Joe, and then I almost lost my mind. Mama said there'll be
Well, let's hear Donald Trump on adversity, please, because this goes for that.
Adversity makes you stronger. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever came easy. And the more righteous your fight, the more opposition that you will face.
That's been true for my life, I tell you the truth. They've attacked me from the day I started in radio. They said I wouldn't last a day, then a week, then a month, then a year. So the very same polyps who are after him, all of them, they're in chorus line, are after him. I mean, I truthfully, during the break, I'm so burned out from this in a way. I have a Jaguar E-Type workshop manual. Because I just got the car back from the shop after I drove it over the weekend for about 5 minutes, and it had another breakdown. It had to go in again for things I didn't even know were broken. So I'm studying the 3 SU carburetors, fascinatingly antiquated, unbelievable. So why do I like old cars like Jaguar XKE, Jaguar XK150 drophead coupe? Why do I constantly like old clocks and antiques? Why? First of all, it takes my mind off the present. That's number one. Secondly, I like quirky things. I like quirky, handsome, beautiful things. That's true. I don't like things that are too smooth. I like things that are a little difficult. Like old cars that are beautiful when they're running. Like presidents who don't run that smoothly, but when they do, they give you what you want. So you gotta. How are you escaping the tension, audience? Those of you who are so fed up with all of this, what are you doing? You're still listening to this show. The numbers are great. I'm number one on WABC and other stations, but I use that as a bellwether because it's the biggest station I have in the entire complex of Savage shows. It's the number one station for me in New York. Probably the most difficult audience for me in some ways, and the show has been number one for years running now on that station. So people are still listening to politics and the other things that I do. But what are you, the audience, what are you doing to tune out while staying tuned in? I'm not saying you should tune out, but I mean, you've burned out. On 4.2 cars with manual transmission, set the idle at 700 RPM. It's so quirky. Different RPMs. You know why I watch car shows at night? There's a channel, I think, Velocity, that has car shows. I turn it on because at least the men do it, fix things. They fix the body and the axle and the carburetor and the screw and the nail, and they actually fix things. If only they clean up their beards and get better clothing, it would be even better. I don't know why guys who work on cars have to have, like, methamphetamine beards. I don't understand that part of it. Why do they have to look like meth heads, all of them? All right, that's what they do. But I like to watch car shows at night. The only show I can't watch is that Chasing Classic Cars, because I wish that guy Wayne would get a new pair of pants. There's a guy with Chasing Classic Cars. I love classic cars. He's so successful he can't buy a new pair of dungarees. He has to wear the same creepy dungarees. They can't. It's the same thing. No one has advisors. You give them a new outfit when you're big. You make it big, you get a new outfit. You become a president, you get new advisors. You don't carry the same schleppers with you into the White House. that you had before, throw them out. Change everybody. Get rid of them. Get rid of your sorority. Bring in the people you've known from New York. Get them in there with you. Not the Washington elites. Get rid of them. They're all out to get you. Intensifying drama comes Trump set to embark Friday on his first foreign trip. Senator Lindsey backstabbing Graham. Said he's probably glad to leave town. A lot of us are glad he's leaving for a few days. Hey, Lindsey, I wish you'd leave for a few decades. And then McCain, oh boy, I don't know. He looks like damaged goods. I ran into him once in person at a fight in Vegas. Damaged goods in the eyes. You can read a person. A man can read a man. I saw damage in the eyes. I saw damage. Look, 5 years in a Vietnamese concentration camp being tortured every day by those animals, you'd be broken too. But what did they do to him in that camp? What did they do to John McCain to make him into what he has become? What did they do to him? That he would turn like this on his own party. And he's been doing it consistently. Don't think this is the beginning. He has been a consistent anti-borders, anti-language, anti-culture man. The man is a straight-out internationalist and a warmonger, a madman. McCain went, if you remember, to Egypt, and he argued with the Egyptian people to reinstall the Muslim Brotherhood. That was number one. He went to Ukraine after they put in a duly elected representative. He told them to reinstate the one that they threw out. Again, this guy is crazy. So now he comes up and he attacks Trump today. Why would you take someone in your own party who's a Brutus and listen to him? Why? Why? All right, why? There's no answer why. Sanders. I got to play a little Sanders. The show's going to be over. Where's Sanders? I like his accent a lot. It makes me feel at home. Millionaires and billionaires. Millionaires and billionaires. The same rhetoric from the 1930s. Him and that old lady of his. Sanders' wife, the last I checked, was under investigation for some shenanigans at the university. They gave it a run. The budget, you know what I'm saying? Hire 10 investigators, old Pelicano types. 10 investigators, put them on him, put them on Sanders, put them on Schumer, put them on Maxine Waters. This whole drama ends in about 90 days. 10 investigators. Every email you can get that's legal, every financial record that's public, every phone call that's public, hang around the diners at night, speak to people who they go to when no one knows they're going. 90 days, it's over. I don't understand how Trump doesn't know that. No, we did not discuss that over dessert. So let me hear a little Sanders in 08. I want to hear the voice. I want to feel like I'm at home again. Here, 08.
I think for whatever reason, Donald Trump doesn't fully understand what being president of the United States is about. When you sit in a room, and by the way, exclude the American media, only have Russian media coming in, and then you tell Russians highly classified information,
get off
which
it.
is endangering our security as
go
a
have
people.
another seltzer.
It may well be that some person somewhere will be killed as a result of what
he's building.
Trump did.
See, now built on it. Started with the lie, and he built it into the bigger lie. Then the bigger lie, now someone died already. Trump said something and someone died. That's the new party line is an Israeli spy died because of Trump. That's the new lie. So this is Sanders. Now he builds on that, and now he goes to the next stage, the Seltzer man doth. The Seltzer man cometh in 09. Let's hear 09.
The evidence is now overwhelming that Russia interfered in our election.
What do you mean? Wait, hold it. What do you mean it's overwhelming? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Seltzer man? Remember the play, The Iceman Cometh? That's why I say the Seltzer man cometh about Sanders. The Seltzer man cometh. I have as much faith in this man's political judgment as I do a Seltzer man in New York in the 1950s. If you ask the guy who had a seltzer out in New York what he thought about politics, just for fun, to kibitz, as the guy's delivering cases of seltzer, say, hey, Izzy, what do you think? And he gave you his opinion. Oh, no kidding. You'd shine him on. The same with this guy. Same thing. Collusion. See, builds now. All right, so Sanders is waiting in the wings. You got the media. You got the polyps. You got the Paul Ryan giving him a double-back reversal stab. Ryan's giving him a double-back reversal stab. Kasich, another one who's mean, hateful, miserable, Miserable soul, Kasich. Remember, look, Trump insulted everybody on the planet. Never forget, Trump insulted everybody in the entire world while running up to the presidency. He ripped them to shreds, tore them to pieces. Jeb Bush, Kasich, who's the other one who ran? The one who couldn't win, even though he's much smarter. Would have made a better president, but couldn't win, so I didn't back him. Gomez? Not Gomez. What's his name? I don't remember. The guy who had the weird father with the Bible. I don't remember him. I forgot him. I don't even know where he is now. Cruz. Senator Crucify. Senator Crucify would have been a much better president and much smarter, much better knowledge of, but couldn't win. If Crucify had run against Hillary, I would say it would have been 65-35 top in her favor. Couldn't win. Impossible. Trump, I knew could win. I knew just exactly because of his bluster and his ability to step on people and crush them that he would win. At least I gambled that he would win, and okay, I gambled and he won. So now here we are, 100 days later, or whatever the number of days is. Surprised the media hasn't come to me and said, Michael Savage, you were credited with being the godfather of Trumpomania by Salon magazine. You wrote a #1 best-selling book, Trump's War, which is astonishing, Savage, since you had no media coverage whatsoever. You were blackballed by Fox News on top of it all. How did you get a book to #1 without them? How? Because my audience bought the book, not them, and not you. But Savage, what is it that you think today? Are you just as enthusiastic about Donald Trump today as you were when you were so busily promoting him for president? Do you think he's doing a good job? Do you think he colluded with the Russians? It's an interesting show topic. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. From my perspective, no one can rip that off because I'm the one behind it. So I think I'll do that tomorrow. Today already it's over. I'm not going to go there. But we'll stick with the other stuff here that we have. Now, Kasich I'm not going to play. He's not colorful enough to ridicule. Oh, step on all of us. Another reliable source. That snake. That oily snake. When I hear Stephanopoulos, all I can think of is a gallon of bad olive oil. Here he is in number 17, one of the slime balls of slime balls in number 17.
I hope you can let this go, is what the notes say. Those 7 words could be Trump's smoking gun. Comey's notes the modern equivalent of Nixon's tapes. Congress will get them. Comey will testify. Whether Trump holds the White House will depend on how Comey describes those notes, who Congress believes, how the country responds.
Oh, how breathless can you get, Georgie boy? Oh, Georgie boy, you're so breathless. Can you sleep at nights waiting to get up in the morning to bash Trump? Is this what animates them in the middle of the night now? They wake up with pounding hearts, with tachycardia, waiting to wake up to attack Trump. It's their whole animus now. They've got a reason to live. I can't imagine them tweeting each other on some secret sites. They probably stopped sending each other nude photos of each other. All they do is attack Trump instead. It's crazy. There's really no news today. There's a meltdown right now, and he's leaving. And the stock market took a dump right down the toilet. So you know that the people who were inside on the New York Times story are also on the inside with the hedge fund and stock people in the same buildings they live in on the Upper East Side and on Fifth Avenue. And they told them the story's coming and it would tank the market. And the guys in the stock market, the hedge funds, shorted and made a fortune on this. That's all. I don't have a dime in the stock market because I know it's all fixed. The whole thing is a fixed job. I remember when I was a kid, invest in mutual funds. I didn't even know what investment was. I had no idea. I was too poor to know what investment meant. I put my money in Bankers Trust Company on Union Turnpike. As a little kid does, I had a bank account. Would you believe it? I was 11. I put the little savings I made for my little job in the luncheonette, washing dishes, this and that. I'd always save money and put it in the bank. And because I never understood why they gave me interest. I couldn't understand how my money made money. It used to bewilder me. I'd put in, let's say by the end of the quarter, I had $392 in it. And it would say interest, $8.52. So I said, well, wow, I only put in $3.90, now it's worth $398.52. I thought it was a miracle. that I made money by putting it in a bank. That was the extent of my ability to invest. Would you believe it? Now, some would say it shows how stupid you are. With your brain, you could have made a fortune by investing in Harlem real estate. You could have hired gangsters to throw the poor black people in the gutter. You could have made a fortune in Israel by throwing Jews out of poor apartments. You could have made money here. You could have made money there. Yeah, right, sure. Sure, tell me about it. Tell me about it, because I never did that. Have a nice oscopy. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
All right, what about Trump's agenda? You know, this is bigger than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not the issue. The issue is our agenda. I backed him because he reflected borders, language, culture, my agenda, your agenda, the agenda of the forgotten American. You are the forgotten American, those of you who are religious listeners to talk radio. Never, ever forget that. This is why you spend time listening to this show and others, because you are the forgotten American. Okay, so it wasn't that we were in love with Donald Trump, the man. We just felt he could advance our agenda because of his boldness and his guts. In plain English, he could step on his opponents. Like a giant, he would step on the swamp and crush the snakes. Well, now the snakes and the swamp are pulling him in. And that's because of a number of reasons. He's making some mistakes. The people around him are making huge mistakes. Some of them are undermining him on purpose. They're Brutuses within his. I don't know how close they are. I don't know who the real Brutus is here. I don't know who the real leaker is, or leakers are. They could be people we would never, ever expect. We know the Republicans have been out to get him from the beginning. They used him to get everything that they have, and now they want him gone. We know Soros is behind getting him. I don't have to mention the Democrats. That's a given. So, you, the listener, have you given up on Trump? Well, that's a big question. Some of you have, some of you haven't. But never forget that it's not over till it's over. This man's not a quitter. Although I asked the question, should Trump resign to save our agenda? He's not resigning. He's been through a lot in his life. He's overcome it all. He's done whatever he had to do to overcome his opponents. He's not going anywhere. I'll tell you that right now. You can write that down. He is not going anywhere on his own.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
So yesterday I talked about the not bear false witnesses, one of the big ones of the Ten Commandments, something that I guess Schumer missed before his bar mitzvah. He didn't read the one that said do not bear false witness. He missed that one. So now we got the Comey thing. So he says he took notes. As far as I know, if you're keeping notes of a meeting, what you do is you show the notes to the party who was at the meeting with you to obtain concurrence that what was written down was correctly stated in your notes. To not do so is a subversive act if you use it against the other party. So Comey is now committing an act of subversion, making something up. We don't know. What do you mean he took notes? Now, if there's tapes, we all want to hear them. Trump alleged that he may have taped the meetings. They could be used against him if he taped the meetings, and it confirms what Comey is saying. As you know, Trump is on the way to a Middle East tour. He's going to visit Israel. He's going to visit Europe. He's going to the Pope, kiss the Pope's ring. I guess that's good. But he's going to do something odd in visiting Saudi Arabia. He is going to suggest that Saudi Arabia be the head of a new Arab NATO in the Middle East. A new Arab NATO? A major part of the plan that Trump is proposing would result in one of the largest arms sales deals with the Saudis in history. This is crazy. This is totally crazy. There is already an Arab League. Why would Trump be wanting to create a Sunni Arab NATO in the Middle East? Does anyone have an answer to that question? I do. Oh, I do. Follow the money. I'll read the article from the New York Post. Team Trump and the Saudis have quietly been negotiating terms of the pact during talks led by Trump's senior advisor and son-in-law, Jared Kushner, along with Saudi Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The talks began for this new Arab NATO after the election when Mohammed, known as MBS, sent a delegation to meet with Jared Kushner, unelected Jared Kushner, unappointed Jared Kushner, unvetted Arab Kushner, and other administration officials at Trump Tower. They were willing to make a bet on Trump and on America, a senior White House official told the paper. Now, I want to ask you something. This is the most repressive kingdom in the world, or amongst them anyway. If you're a Christian, you have to rip the cross off your neck if you go to that wonderful kingdom of theirs. You cannot worship Jesus in that wonderful kingdom of theirs. Why is Trump talking about building an Arab NATO in the Middle East when there's already an Arab League? Do you know what's involved in this plan? And I don't know who put this plan together, but there's so much money involved. You could probably follow the money and figure it out. The arms deal with the Arabs could be worth as much as $350 billion over 10 years. Are you ready for the rest of the sentence? It will include the sale of ships, missile defense systems, armored personnel carriers, missiles, bombs, and munitions for the Saudi Army and Navy. Wait, it gets even crazier. The sales to the Saudis include huge upgrades for the Saudi Army and Navy to include literal combat ships. We're going to give them ships now. THAAD missile defense systems, missiles, bombs, munitions. But here's the worst part. Some of the production and assembly could be located in Saudi Arabia, boosting the Saudis' ability to build a Saudi domestic defense industrial capability. I rest my case right there. Something's wrong with this whole picture. Trump's idea for an Arab NATO, will it weaken our national security and that of Israel? The madness of this, the madness of it. Look, I told you the big beneficiaries so far have been the arms dealers. I told you that right off the bat. I'm speaking to my audience directly right now. The big beneficiaries, despite what Trump says, and he's done some very good things, which we'll tell you about in a minute, the biggest beneficiaries have been the contractors and arms dealers. They are thrilled to death. And now he wants to expand the arms business even more by exporting weapons to Saudi Arabia, creating a new Arab organization, when there is already an Arab organization called the Arab League. He wants an Arab NATO? How can you call it an Arab NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization? Who comes up with these things? How could you call it an Arab NATO? North Atlantic Treaty Organization in the middle of the sand? I don't know who writes this stuff for this guy. Oh, I'm sorry, Jared Kushner met with the Saudis going back to November. I got it. Oh, yoy. Follow the money. Not very good when you see the hatred in America right now, where minority hate rules on Yale campus. A dean on Yale's campus, a Chinese woman, by the way, June Chu, so-called dean of so-called Yale's Pearson College, who pushed cultural sensitivity, wrote a Yelp review of restaurants, gyms, and movie theaters, including takes on what white trash customers would find tasty, and employees in these restaurants and theaters that she called barely educated morons. This is what's mentoring your students now. This is what affirmative action has done to our universities. They have polluted the universities in every department, on every campus, in every country. White trash. June Chu, she apologized for her. She said, if you are white trash, this is the perfect night out for you, about a Japanese restaurant. Then the superior dean at Yale said, this establishment is definitely not authentic by any stretch of any imagination, and perfect for those low-class folks who believe this is a real night out. Over-salted and greasy food. Side note, employees are Chinese, not Japanese. She still has her job. I'm giving you an example of what pollution has trickled down. trickle-down pollution after 8 years of Obama's hatred. There is social pollution at every level in this society from trickle-down pollution. Another odd thing came out today, which is that some fools at the New York Times are saying that Trump is mentally unfit for office and should be removed under the 25th Amendment. That's absurd. If you want to talk about mentally unfit for office, that could have applied to Barack Obama, who was clearly a sociopath. Barack Obama showed all the signs of being a sociopath. He could have been removed under the 25th Amendment, couldn't he? So now they're talking about crazy stuff. They're getting crazier by the day. And behind it all is one of the most manipulative, dangerous, evil people on the planet, in my opinion, globalist George Soros, who made billions breaking the British pound. InfoWars, Kit Daniels says Soros could crash the U.S. dollar by pushing a Trump impeachment. Oh, you didn't see that connection, the dollar connection, did you? In 1992, the most evil man on the planet in the minds of millions of people who've studied this devil, he pocketed over $1 billion by betting against and destroying Great Britain's monetary system. It appears that he's trying to do it again. The attacks against Trump, which have been fueled by Soros's money, may in fact lead to the collapse of the dollar. The dollar sank Wednesday with a fresh crisis in the White House, fueling concerns that Donald Trump's economy-boosting agenda could be run off track, reported AFP. Soros's stock market moves run together with his political activities. So people are saying it's likely he had already betted against the dollar in anticipation of this morning's headlines. Could Soros, asks Kit Daniels, could Soros be the catalyst that finally collapses the U.S. dollar? Never forget the money. Never. Let's go back to the Comey effect. It's all an attempt to do one thing, which is to stop his agenda cold, which they're not going to do, to intimidate the Republicans from voting with him, and damage the Republicans for midterms amongst the independents. Maybe even to start a little war with Russia. And fourth, to stall any investigations of Hillary Clinton's uranium deal, which to me was totally not only impeachable, but jailable. And of course, if you want to talk about high crimes and misdemeanors, I can list 4 that Obama committed. I know you don't want to hear it, but they are there. And if you want to talk about removing somebody on the 25th Amendment, let's go back to Obama's sociopathic behavior. But let's stick to the simple stuff. Comey, the 6'7" giant, the very brave giant of the FBI, whose greatest claim to fame was arresting and jailing Martha Stewart. That's what he did. That's what he did. While there were one bombing after another by Muslims that the FBI was following, he didn't stop them. Bombings. But he got Martha Stewart. He put her away. So he says that he was at the meeting, he took notes, and his notes are valid. Well, let me show you how stupid that is. Unless there's a recording, why should we believe a word Comey says? Why is he more believable than Donald Trump? Where is Comey's credibility coming from other than the media? And the media, as you well know, never wanted Trump to begin with. They wanted Hillary. So we have to assume Comey is either lying or he's not lying. If he's not lying, he has to prove it with a tape. That's number one. I would otherwise assume he's lying. Now, I told you when I was in Mar-a-Lago 6 weeks ago, the president called me over and I had not 60, but 90 minutes alone with him, when nobody else was at the table for most of the time. I didn't keep notes, but what if I said I kept notes and he offered me the ambassadorship to Russia, which he didn't do, by the way. Oh, Michael Savage was offered to be the ambassador to Russia. That would be totally made up. So, in other words, I could have said anything. I could make up anything that he said to me, but I never told you he said that, because he didn't say it. Do you understand what crap this is? Do you understand that Comey could be making the whole thing up, and probably is, just to get even with him, because Trump made an error? And I said the error was not in firing him, but how he fired him and when he fired him. He should have been dismissed while Trump was away from the country, and it should have been done silently and not so personally. That was a big mistake. So Comey's fighting back. He didn't get to be where he is by being not a fighter. He's a tremendous fighter, a truly tough-minded individual, a failed FBI director for sure, but tough, meaning a politically keen, operative, in plain English. So he's an operative of the Democrat Party. Trump is mentally unfit for office and should be removed under the 25th Amendment now. That's what they're circulating now in the Old York Times. Now, the 25th Amendment to the Constitution allows for the removal of the president if the vice president and the majority of the cabinet informs the Congress that he is, quote, unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. And should the president contest his own removal, a 2/3 vote by Congress confirms the cabinet's judgment. Now, we all know that this could never happen. We know that this will never happen, but they're throwing everything they can think of right now. Is he really unable to govern? Is he unable to execute the serious duties that fall to him to carry out the nation's work? Of course not. But they're floating this anyway when it's absurd, and we all know it's absurd. He's never going to be impeached. He's never going to resign. He's faced probably pretty bad stuff in his life. I don't know how bad this is to him personally, but never forget his background. He's gone bankrupt many times. He's had multiple lawsuits thrown at him, and never forget what the polyps in the media, never forget what the polyps in the media did to him during the campaign. Never forget what that vicious, evil, blonde witch did to him on Fox News. She destroyed Fox News, by the way. The network's in free fall from what she did. It started with her, incidentally. And then the demise of Fox News continued when they set up O'Reilly and got rid of him. That was a setup from the get-go. There's no question in my mind. The whole thing was an orchestrated plan that came not only from without, but from within to make the network more neutral, more middle of the road. It's as simple as that. Be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
So now it gets even crazier. More madness, more drama. Spicer, the communications guy, whatever he is, press secretary, comes out and says Trump is considering former Senator Joe Lieberman for FBI director. If you ever could pick the wrongest person in the world, would it be Joe Lieberman? Yes. Why in the world would his name even be circulated to be FBI director? Joe Lieberman. President Trump will interview 4 candidates for FBI director, including former independent Senator Joe Lieberman. Trump will also meet with Frank Keating, a former Oklahoma governor, and Richard McFeely. Spicer said during a briefing on Air Force One as Trump returned to Washington after speaking at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy in Connecticut. This just came up. Lieberman was a Democrat before becoming an independent from Connecticut. Okay, now why would he pick a 75-year-old man who, at best, is sort of a weakling type? You know, like a weak guy. A nice, weak guy. Why would he put him into the FBI? Answer. You can figure out the rest of that answer, can't you? This is totally insanity. Now, why would he also float a name of Mr. Keating, 73 years old, former FBI agent who rose to prominence as Oklahoma's governor during the Oklahoma City bombing? During last year's presidential election, this guy Keating criticized Trump for his lack of leadership and once referred to him as hysterical. He once said to the New York Times, frequently Mr. Trump's tone is hysterical, and there is simply no reason for that. Leaders, whether they're governors or presidents, need to make sure they don't create a bloodlust hysteria. See, he's on the short list. Okay. Then there's McCabe, Mr. McCabe, who is the acting director, who of course was the lieutenant of Comey. Why would he consider him? I don't understand that one. Now another one. So I don't know. What do I know? Who should run the FBI? Maybe Reese Witherspoon? Why doesn't he just pick someone from Hollywood to run the FBI? That might be fun. Like a movie star. Reese Witherspoon should run the FBI. Let's see. Black UCLA students demand safe spaces and $40 million. Oh. Okay. Well, give them the segregation now that they didn't want. Okay. South Korea's new president warns of high possibility of military clashes with North Korea. I don't want to think about it. Israel Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman says Intel co-op with Israel remains strong. Berkeley student fees fund $2.7 million gender-neutral locker room. Are you listening to this one? This is while they're complaining, the Progs, about high tuition. It took $2.7 million of student fees to build a gender-neutral locker room at UC Berkeley.
Savage.